Okay, this is the complete wiring diagram for this here Mule. Now we have an issue with the parking brake assembly. Now I know it needs adjustment, but it also has an issue where the light does not come on when you pull the parking brake lever up. So instead of you trying to focus on all of these little wires here, what I've done is I've just redrawn the circuit. So from that wiring diagram that you saw previously, I just redrew this circuit to make it a little bit simpler. So let's go over this here parking brake switch circuit. So we coming off of the battery, off of the positive terminal. We'll go to a white wire, it'll feed a 30 amp fuse. We'll come in on the other side of the fuse. We got another white wire. We go into the ignition switch. Now this ignition switch will be closed in the on position or the start position. In our case, we'll just put it in the on position. On the other side of the ignition switch, we got a brown wire, and we have another brown wire that's going to be feeding the coolant high temp light. You may look at that, but right now I'm just focusing on this here circuit right here. This will be the parking light indicator. Now on the other side of that light there, we have a red with a white tracer. We have a connector. And on the other side of the connector, we got a red wire, which is going to the parking brake switch, which then goes to ground. So you see the ground, close, goes all the way back through, then this indicator light should light up. Now the quickest way to find out what's going on here is to check this entire circuit. I'm going to take, and we're going to see if this here parking brake switch is working. First of all, let's point it out. We come up to here. Here's our parking brake assembly. Now if we look at this here parking brake, you can see the switch right here. There's a little plunger right there. Parking brake is released. Now as I move it up, you see it comes out. At that point, this switch should be closed. Watch it again. You see the plunger going back? Now it should be open. So let's check and verify to see if this is working. Okay, I'm going to turn the switch to the on position. I'm going to bring it up. Alright, plunger's out. Now let's take a look over here to see if this here indicator light is on. Look at this here indicator light. Now the parking brake indicator light is down here on the bottom. You notice it's not on when it should be. This up here is the coolant high temp light. As I mentioned in a previous video, this light will come on when the coolant gets to 110 degrees Celsius. In other words, it's indicator light saying your engine is basically just running too hot. The coolant is too hot. Okay, so going back to our parking brake indicator, does a light. Let's go back to go down here to our switch now. Now let's take this here terminal and let's just pull it off. Probably the first time it's ever been off in its life. Okay, now what I'm going to do, remember this here switch is only grounding out to the frame, so let's put a ground on it. Let's see if this here works. And remember, if this here light, indicator light, comes on by me taking this here wire, this is a red wire, as you see right here, that's going to the parking brake switch. If I ground this out, then this here should, all this circuit should work, and that indicator light should come on. So I'm going to take my jumper lead, and I'm just going to hook it to ground. Now I'm going to go up to here and I'm going to turn on the ignition switch. And what do we notice? We notice that the indicator light is coming on. Notice that the light is bright. That shows there's no corrosion or anything that's anywhere in this here entire circuit. So this pinpoints our problem directly to the parking brake switch. Now, in this here circuit, there is a connector. Now, we don't need to worry about that for us because we're good to go. But in case you do need to go a little further with your diagnosis, let me point out to where this one connector is at. that's between this indicator light and also all the way up to where it goes back to the B plus terminal on the battery. Okay, now if you want to know where that connector is, you have to pull your compartment out, and you'll see that it's located right here. So you follow this harness and you'll find out that these here 3 wires will be feeding those 2 indicator lights. Let's go over this here parking brake switch so we can see how it works. If you look right in here, right in there where I'm touching there.
I see you now. All right.
Right in here, you can see that the terminal is connected to this side over here. And then if you look right over here to right there, this side is connected to the frame, which is connected to ground. Now, right now you can see then the parking brake is released, and these two pieces of metal that I just pointed out, this one and that other one on the back, they're separated. Now as I raise it up, you can see the two come together. See that? When they come together, there should be a connection, which then takes it to ground. So what we have here is a little bit of corrosion between these two surfaces. So I'm going to see if I can get some sandpaper up in there, kind of clean these surfaces up, and then we're going to retest it. Okay, so it's really hard to get up in there to get your hands to clean that off, that parking brake switch. So I'm just going to take the whole assembly off. So the only thing it is, there's this here, there's 2 nuts right here. Screw them off, 10mm head, and then there's 2 bolts. One's right here, and I'm starting to take out the other one here, and that is a 12mm head. So once I get it out, I'll catch you in the next shot. Okay, so everything is off of it, so I'm just going to slide this thing, push this here parking brake cable, push it back out of the parking brake assembly, and we just lift it out, and there you go. So now I can get access to that parking brake switch, kind of clean it up, and also we'll clean this other assembly up here. Alright, so now that I got it off, you can get a pretty good idea of what this thing looks like now. So the 2 areas that I was talking about is this piece of metal and this one right here. This one on the inside is what's actually connected to the frame, which is grounded. So you see right now we should have a closed connection. So let me go ahead and I'm going to release it, the handle, put it back down. You can see that it opens up, and this will give us an open circuit. But if you look in there, I've started cleaning it a little bit with some 80 grit sandpaper. So you can see I've got, and this thing had quite a bit of rust on it. So I'm just cleaning this area up in here, and also I'm going to clean up this area here where it contacts pretty much on that edge and on that back edge. So now you know everything I know of what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've got this entire parking brake assembly cleaned up. I sprayed some WD-40 in it. Of course, you saw me where I was going to clean the contacts. I got that. I have the terminal connected back up to the parking brake switch, and I use some compressed air, you know, blow out the excess WD-40. Anyway, we're in good shape. But before I mount this back on there, I want to be sure this thing is going to work. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn the switch on. Now I need to ground this frame, so I'm looking at this right here. It's probably a good frame, you know, ground. So I'm just going to touch it. Now you notice that my parking brake is released. It's all the way down on the handle. And if we look over there, you can see that the indicator light is off. Now I'm going to raise the handle, and I'm touching that cable. You can see now that it's on. I'm going to go ahead and release the handle, and it's off. So I know it's going to work. Alright, so we got everything back together. I got the rubber boot on, got it cleaned up. Linda, she cleaned it all up. Now, as far as the procedure to adjust the parking brake, this here, the 2 jam nuts, if I took the cable and I pulled it out and took out the slack, it was about a 3/4 of an inch as far as the jam nuts being away from the base on the parking brake assembly. So I loosened those two jam nuts up. I held the slack out of the cable and I just ran the nuts down. And what the service procedure says that if you take and you want to have this thing from 8 to 12 clicks, and it's pretty much you're putting everything into it. So I got, I think, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's everything I could do. So it's around 8 clicks. Now, just to verify that the procedure is okay, I'm gonna turn on the switch. We're gonna raise it up. And as you can see, the indicator is on, showing that I have the parking brake on. I'm going to release the handle, and you can see the light goes out. So this is done.